We have a new sponsor and an old friend joining Envy Pillow here, Sierra Sil. With 2 rare patents and a money-back guarantee, Sierra Sil, available at Shoppers Drug Mart, London Drugs and Health Food stores, is the natural mineral joint pain remedy you need. Go to sierrasil.com, SIERRASIL.com, and use the code GF for 10% off. Oh, 17, Dancing Queen here. We are with our episode 17 of Gracefully, and frankly, hello, Lisa Brandt.
Hello, Erin Davis. And this is kind of where our personalities show themselves. You think of dancing at 17, and I'm thinking, it's 17.
Oh, you're thinking Janice Ian, and I'm thinking ABBA. Okay, that is completely who we are.
Exactly.
That was not the feel-good song of the year, Lisa. Nice.
Not at all.
That's right, and you and I were 17 when that song came out, so that is our song.
I can't do math that quickly. Oh,
that's okay. We're both of us here as eye candy. And that's why there's no cameras. So anyway, we got a great show lined up for you this week. We're going to talk about a few antiquated phrases or some terminology that, it's still around, and one of them I'd really like to see go, and the other ones just may never. And spoiler alert, talking about spoilers.
I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, Erin, and ask you to explain. One of the big spoilers was about this big hit show, and I don't get it. So maybe you can sell me on it, and I'll go back to it. Succession, of course.
I wouldn't try to sell you on it, but I could tell you that it's worth digging into. And I think if people had said that to me for Game of Thrones, I might have stuck with it. But when I watched the first season, I just felt cold all the time. It was always snowing and dark. I would rather watch White Lotus and pretend I'm in Hawaii again. That would be nice. That'd be nice.
So you're talking about a show that's cold and dark, which makes me think of at 17. Oh, no, sorry.
Oh, jeez. Oh, Janice Ian, get out of our heads. We're also going to talk about some shifts with the no-name guy and why you should never have a spokesface and so much more. I don't know how Envy Pillow would ever choose us if they wanted a spokesface, but they are wrinkle-free thanks to their pillows. And as you pointed out last week, I think it was, you've got an extra day out of your hairdo. Hairdo. There's another thing we never said.
Hairdo.
Yeah, my hairdo, my dippity-do.
That's right. My beehive. Yeah.
The fact that their satin pillowcases are so gentle, not only on your skin, but on your hair. And it's that copper infusion that they use, and copper is germ killing. It's really something special about Envy Pillow. So many special things about it.
The other aspect of Envy Pillow is that overnight is when your skin's doing all of its repair. So if copper's taking away the bacteria and you're getting a lovely little gentle hug on your hair, that's the time to do it. Maybe that's why we sleep at night.
Maybe it is. Please let those repair teams work a little bit harder. Do they do OT? I would like that.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Envy Pillow, for sponsoring Gracefully and Frankly. And if you would like to learn more, just go to envypillow.com, use the code GF, and you will get 10% off anything that you buy there. So thanks, Envy Pillow. And thanks to you, we're ready to roll with episode 17, the happy version. Well, if I say hello, possum, to you, that's because I heard it first from you and then somebody else who passed away last week.
Yeah, Dame Edna, the character. But I used to say, hello, possum, and I would get the strangest looks from people who didn't know who Dame Edna was, and now everybody, I think, knows.
Yeah, and if you don't, it was Barry Humphries, who I think was Australian, wasn't he?
Yes, he was, yeah.
Yeah, and he was in drag as this irreverent and so wonderful character. It was like Joan Rivers in your Aunt Edna in drag.
And a little bit of Mrs. Doubtfire in there.
Oh, yeah.
But he had this way as Dame Edna of being insulting that would just make you howl. Like everybody else was below his station or her station, I guess. And I put a clip out on Twitter of Dame Edna going into a private box at an event with almost King Charles and Camilla. And insulting them, but they're howling, laughing. So Yeah, he was a great talent.
He was. And of course, we'd be remiss if we didn't mark the passing of another great talent, especially in Toronto radio, one that you and I both had a chance to work with, and that was Don Daynard, who died last Thursday at the age of 88. And it had been a hard few years before his passing, and I was honored to be in touch via email with his widow, Linda Daynard, who was married to him for 31 years.
Wow.
Linda had entered his life kind of towards the end of Don's and my partnership. And I wish I'd gotten a chance to know her better, but she was a fierce mama bear, and she took care of Don in ways that, you wouldn't think that this macho John Wayne kind of guy wanted or needed, but she was the right person for that time in his life, and for all I know, his whole life. But she helped him through his son Britt's death that happened in 1991, the same year that I had Lauren. So there were so many intersecting areas of our lives, the birth, the death, and later on bound together, Dawn and I, by grief. And so it's a different kind of grief as we said goodbye to Don, and I hope that people get a chance to see my goodbye to him. It's at erindavis.com or on my Facebook page. It was linked on Twitter Monday, but who the heck knows with the verified check marks anymore, huh? I lost mine, and I'm still here, Lisa.
That's right. And what is it? Charlie Sheen, Steve Martin, and Stephen King were given them from the great Elon Musk, who decided that they should have them. So,
yeah, you know what about that? Anyone with over 1 million followers got the check mark back. I don't have 1 million. I got 30,000. And thank you to every single one who might be listening, because I don't care about 30,000. I only care about you. So those who have the verified blue check mark now are saying, no, I don't want to be in this club with a bunch of losers who are spending $8 a month to get their check mark. So what a maroon.
I admitted in my blog, voiceoflisabrandt.com, that I did buy the check mark for 3 months or something.
I'm sorry, I called you a loser.
No, that's okay. I'm putting the L on my forehead as I tell this story.
Okay.
Because I wanted to do it when people still had their verified check marks. I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. And it was about losing $8 a month. That was all it was about.
Yeah.
And so I did it for the 3 months and then stopped and then wrote about it just to say, this is it was nothing. No check mark for me.
But the L will always only stand for Lisa. In reading so many obituaries and sad remembrances, loving remembrances of Don Daynard last week, there was a phrase that came up, and, it should be the last thing that bothers me, but because it is of a time, I guess it's fitting, but people were calling him, and especially Broadcast Dialogue, which is a site that I subscribe to. I follow their newsletters. I think they're terrific, but they called him Morning Man.
Yeah.
And I love alliteration. I love alliteration. The M's are beautiful in there. But it's one of those things that people think, oh, don't be so stupid. But it's exclusive. It means I could never be that, no matter if I had the highest rated show alone or with my Cooper or whoever was next to me. I could never be a morning man. What was I ever going to be? And that was always kind of the gold standard at a radio station. You wanted to be the morning man. Can you talk me out of this or tell me why it bothers me and other phrases that we think should be outdated? But first, about the morning man. What do you think, Lisa?
Oh, I agree with you, because we come from an era when the ads would actually say they're looking for a new morning man. Mm-hmm. And you or I or any other woman in broadcasting would look at that and go, well, I'm out.
Right.
There's no way they're going to even consider me. And that's just how it was. I know younger women in broadcasting now are like, well, what do you mean that's how it was? That's how it was. This is how busting through a glass ceiling happens. It starts off completely unfair. And I was really kind of chuffed by Broadcast Dialogue to see that they referred to him as, okay, maybe he was CKFM morning man back in the day, mm-hmm. but on CHFI, he was a morning co-host. You were the other co-host. And so the distinction matters to women. It matters in the industry. I mean, I wanted so badly once to have my name first on a morning show. I was on so many different morning shows, and it didn't happen because the person making the decision, it was supposed to happen once, and it didn't because the person making the decision thought my name sounded better second.
Oh.
To them, that was not a big deal. I've spoken to them about it, and it's fine, whatever. To them, it was not a big deal to get all the material done, all the marketing material and everything else. To me, it was a punch to the gut. It was massive. And I was the lead person. I did have more experience, all those things. So I'm not going to talk you out of this about Morning Man. I'm going to stand beside you and wave a little flag and say, it's just outdated and wrong. And I love broadcast dialogue too. My goodness, in my mind, I apply for half the jobs that are posted there. And I could do that.
Me too.
If I was half my age and didn't want to eat.
Exactly. And wanted to move to Upper Frozen Boot, Alberta.
Exactly. But no, I agree with you. I think, and women, especially in the industry, would also agree with you. It's one of those things that hurts. It says, you're not welcome in this clubhouse. No girls allowed with the G spelled backwards. Tacked on the door of the clubhouse. And that's the era we come from. But that era is supposed to be over.
There are other things from that era that are still with us, and not in a hurtful way, but kind of one that makes you go, oh, okay. Now, sometimes if you post something that says, oh, come on, we have them on tape just the other day, and somebody will go, hey, boomer, nobody tapes anything anymore. And you know what? Will we ever get rid of those two words, on tape, caught on this? There's no tape anymore. It's all digital.
Right.
You and I recording this right now. It's all going straight into our computers, and then we just throw them out to the edit fairies and see what comes back. Spoiler alert, we're the edit fairies. But you know what I mean?
I heard a young person not long ago say, it's just a carbon copy. And I didn't get a chance to ask them, but I would bet dollars to donuts that they had no idea what a carbon copy was. They never got that stuff on their fingers from holding a carbon copy,
Or the delicious smell of something that had been churned off the teacher's machine. And I can't remember the name of that thing, but it had mimeoscope or whatever.
Mimeograph?
Yes. What the heck? I mean, it did dot. No, not that kind of, it wasn't a telegraph. We weren't that old. But what other terms haven't been retired? Like the needle rip. We all know that sound when everything stops in the room and the waiter drops his tray and everybody looks at the couple where she's just told him she's pregnant with his quintuplets. We know that sound. And yet who has heard a needle rip lately?
Although vinyl is coming back, so it may actually happen, but it hasn't recently, that's for sure. I was writing something for a client not long ago, and I wanted to put in the word dud, that something was a dud. And I thought, I've never heard anyone use that. So I checked with a pal, Jill Ellis, who's a wordsmith, and she said, go to the Urban Dictionary and check words when you're not sure, because they've got all sorts of ridiculous phrases in there. But also, if you can't find it, it means the kids probably aren't using it. And dud was not in there, so I had to find another word.
Does that mean milk duds don't exist anymore if you go to an American theater? I have no idea.
I bet they do, but just not one dud.
You got to have another dud.
You can't just eat one.
Speaking of on tape, as we were, there's a lot going on right now in the world of, and I don't even know if I should say television because we watch it on our TV, not our TV set, on our TV, but it's not on broadcast television. It's HBO or it's Apple or it's whatever. And I'm talking about the final or alleged final seasons of Succession, Barry on HBO, or Ted Lasso on Apple. And I don't have all of these shows on tape, but they are all sitting there waiting for us to pluck them out of the ether. And it's causing a real problem, especially Succession, right?
Because people are spoiling it for others?
Yes. The LA Times went practically front page, if anybody. Remember front pages, kids? No, it's the first thing that comes through on a tweet. But apart from all of the terminology, whether it fits or not, but the LA Times, the day after a major character on Succession died, they were right there with it, and people were incensed with it.
Yeah, because we stream now, right? It's not appointment TV anymore. And so if we were watching something on MASH, like the finale of MASH, my goodness, if you have not seen the finale of MASH by now, I'm going to ruin it for you. Well, there was something like, I don't know how many tens of millions of people tuned in because we had 3 channels and you had to watch it when it was on. But now with people binging and streaming, like you can just say, all right, I'm not going to watch that show until we stream the whole season. So I understand the spoiler problem. It's just, I think it's kind of old school thinking that everybody will have seen it already. But how much are we supposed to hold back? I used to bother a guy that we did a morning show with here in London, Ontario, about doing spoilers on things because I would have to wait till the weekend to watch it. And he'd say, well, I want to be in on the conversation. And I'd say, yeah, but I haven't seen it yet. And it was just a never ending discussion that I couldn't possibly win.
As time has gone on, and of course I had those same handcuffs on as well, I would say, all right, we're going to talk about what happened on Succession. So I need you to turn down your radio in 3 seconds, and then we'll be back after 20 seconds, which, of course, was absolute craziness for management because the last thing that you want to tell anybody is to turn down the radio, right? Because they're going to switch over to another station.
Right.
But there are things that really are so big in the public conversation. Remember the Red Wedding on Game of Thrones? I still haven't watched that show, but I know what it was about. I know what happened there because it did come out. Now, when we're talking about whether we can be part of the conversation, which of course a morning show is supposed to be, or anybody like us, for example, we want to be in on the zeitgeist. Well, you can only talk about award shows or sporting events. Those are the 2 last events you have to watch live or it's going to be ruined for you. You can try and stay under that cone of silence, which we have done. I mean, even last weekend's Leafs game against Tampa Bay, Game 3, we had the family over. We paused the game while we had supper and then ran back to watch the last period and a half. So you can keep that cone, but it doesn't last for long.
Well, I saw a guy just the other day tweet, a journalist, hey, Apple TV, please, can you take the live score off your crawl for MLS? Every week the score is ruined for me, and signed unsatisfied customer. And it's like, I don't know how the world is supposed to bend every which way for everybody. I don't see how that works.
No, I don't either. I think we're at the point now that no matter what you do, you're going to rile somebody. And once we are comfortable with that fact and that everybody has a keyboard and they're going to let you know, I don't think it was smart on the part of the LA Times to do that.
No.
There were other sites that did it in a much more ambiguous kind of way. And if you are at least going to spill beans, have that asterisk and spoiler alert. This article contains spoilers. That will give people enough warning. But when you're talking about something as live as radio or television or whatever, if people are watching their morning TV or whatever, then you just have to give people the warning or not talk about it at all. So it's a tough one to straddle.
It is. Even on Goodreads, where, every time I read a book, I go and just do a little review and blah, blah, blah. As an author, you know how important it is for people to write honest reviews about books. There's my plug. Anyway, so I always do that. And there's a little thing you can click that says hide review because of spoilers. And then only the top couple of sentences will show. And then it gives the person the option to click to read more, knowing there will be spoilers. Now, you can't do that with audio. And I think it's brilliant because it gives the person control over whether they're going to read the whole thing. If you're going onto the site of your favorite news source and the first thing you see is Succession, big death, blah, 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 you don't have that opportunity, right?
Absolutely.
I don't like Succession. Can you tell me what it is to like about it?
Well, it's hard to like because every character is despicable.
Yes.
And you know what? We almost didn't power through the first season for that very reason. You want to have somebody to root for in this, and there just is not anybody rootable.
Yeah.
And even with Sopranos, Tony Soprano was a sympathetic character. He was a mob boss. He was a murderer. He was everything else. But they gave him this vulnerability where he had his shrink and he cried about the ducks in his swimming pool in episode 1. And you went, I see the humanity in this person. I'm in for the ride. Succession is hard. It's very hard. But Lisa, what I'm finding with it is it so parallels the Murdochs and so many other families of power and the machinations. Logan Roy's son is, to me, Don Trump Jr. in every way but the air quotes. And he probably would go into those if he had a podcast too. So in that way, I'm looking through a keyhole a little bit. Do we have keyholes? No, we don't. Yeah, okay, whatever, however we say it. Does that make sense to you?
That's right. It does. So you're looking on the Teddy Cam.
Yes.
We watched, I think, I don't know, maybe 4 episodes, and then we both looked at each other and said, life is too short. But apparently we're missing this whole ride. I think what finally finished me was the one brother's, how should we put this, sexual proclivity toward self-love and repetitiveness with an older woman viewing that. Anyway.
Yes.
And it was just like, I don't want to see it anymore. So the people who have stuck with it, it's obviously a juggernaut, a huge show.
Yeah.
We're just not on that ride. Okay. I just wanted to know.
Okay. And you know what? That character, that most despicable character, is the one that you come to like the best in the show. So go figure.
Yeah.
Hey, you know who we're not seeing on TV anymore?
You mean besides Tucker Carlson and Don Lemon?
Galen Weston. And I know you're happy about that.
Ha!
They've chosen a no-name president for Loblaws. Actually, his name is Per Bank. He's got a last name of Bank. How perfect is that?
Yeah, isn't that funny? And Galen gets a raise, so he's not going to suffer. I really wanted to like him, and I love my PC Optimum points, as you know. And he just couldn't relate to the every person. It just wasn't working, and it was just a silly move. So let him go to the whatever it is he's going to do and count his money, and we'll see where they go from there. You know, the guy who did the Loblaws, what was that guy's name? Dave?
Oh, yeah, Memories of. Dave. Let me just check it out. Dave. Yes. Memories of. Shit, this is a funny thing to be caught up on. Actually, we should keep this rolling. You know, it's weird when we can't come up.
Dave Nichol.
Dave Nichol, yeah. Dave Nichol. Memories of Dave Nichol. Yes, yes. And I bought... but I bought his cookbooks, everything. I loved those sauces. They changed my kitchen.
Yeah, so he was the head of product development, and he was a marketing guy. He wasn't a member of the Lucky Sperm Club, and he was much more relatable. And he was, I would say, almost beloved. It was fun to watch what his new product releases and all that kind of stuff. You know, he's been gone 10 years now, if you can believe it. And here we are still talking about him. And he had that thing that made him sort of an everyman, which Mr. Weston does not. And Mr. Weston is probably also too young to have remembered Dave Nichol. So if he'd done his homework, maybe he could have gone back and watched a little bit of it. But anyway, bye-bye, Galen.
Yeah, well, you know what? He's the kind of guy, Dave Nichol is the kind of guy that the newer marketers would point at and laugh. I just know it because Nichol looked like he enjoyed his own products a lot. So for that reason, I did believe that he used the sauces. I did believe that he barbecued. I never believed Galen Weston would have no-name crackers in his cupboard. I mean, maybe the staff did and passed them off as Le Breton or something, but no, not him. And it just goes to show you once again, and this could go into the annals of marketing misfits, is the problem with having spokesfaces. Who remembers Bill Cosby Diet Coke? Hey, Bill, what was in that Coke? Yeah. Yellow pudding pops. I love my pudding pops. And then, of course, the Hall of Fame for bad spokesfaces was Jared, who only ate Subway, but was using it to fuel him in his sexual crimes. And as far as we know, he's still in jail.
Oh, yeah, he is.
There's so much that can go wrong with spokesfaces.
Right. They throw the whole company behind these people, and people are just human. Some are really good at hiding their true selves.
Yeah.
And then everything goes up like Elon Musk's rocket when that person gets found out. So Dave Nichol might have been folksy and all that other kind of stuff, but he was likable, and I think that's the number one thing you need. He was just a guy.
Yeah. Bill Cosby was likable. Jared was likable. So I will say the likability is no longer the deciding factor. I think it's just smart to animate something or, not even use
AI.
Yes, don't even use athletes because God knows how many schools have been named for people, whether they were politicians, Confederate generals, or anything else. You name somebody after you think is a hero right now. Like, look at Ryerson. It was renamed. There's no winning. There's just no winning as we open our eyes.
Everything should be named for Terry Fox in this
Yes.
country. I mean, he is beyond reproach and just an amazing example of a Canadian. So everything should be named for Terry Fox.
Right.
And then every future spokesperson should just be AI.
Yeah.
Hi, I use the new President's Choice.
Well, Lisa, as we wrap up episode 17, we only had that one moment of not being able to remember something, and ironically, it was memories of. So, you wrote to me about an idea you have about how to remember something when you walk into another room. Now, I recall reading an article that says the brain actually does this to you because you've changed settings. It's like you've gone from one scene in a film into another scene, and you're not meant to remember what was in that first scene. That's why there are people checking continuity and scripts. So what is your idea? Tell me this so I don't look like a dog going into the room going, oh, what did I come in for?
Well, I do that, but then I think it's just putting into practice what you just said. I go back to where I was when I had the idea. If I leave the living room and go into the bedroom for something and I can't remember what it is, I go back to where I was in the living room and I always remember, always, every single time. So standing there, forcing myself to come up with it is never going to work. I just return to the scene of the memory and it works for me.
That'll never help those of us who are looking for our headphones when they're hanging around our necks. But
No.
It's a very good tip. It's a great tip. And speaking of going back into rooms, are you and Derek reunited yet? And I don't mean in a marriage kind of way. Your poor husband had COVID.
Yes, he did. And fortunately, just like when I had COVID last year, he didn't get it. He had it this time. I didn't get it. We've stayed socially distanced and we're back together now because he's all better. But he got really sick and he's vaxxed up the wazoo as much as he can possibly.
I get mine in my arm.
Well, that's an option here.
Maybe that's the problem. Yes. Up the wazoo, please, nurse.
He checked the wrong box on the intake form.
Clearly.
But anyway, he was quite sick, but he's a really good patient, I have to say. He doesn't whine. He just gets on with it. So, yeah, we're back together on our envy pillows, as a matter of fact.
Oh, very good. I am so happy for you and very glad that Derek is better. Rob sailed through his. He didn't even know he had it. And then tested negative 2 days later. So he got the express version. Tell Derek, try the arm. Maybe it goes faster that way.
I will. Poor guy's wazoo.
Well, on that note, that classy note of Derek's wazoo, we will say thank you. Thank you for listening, for over 20,000 downloads of Gracefully and Frankly. And here we are on our 17th episode. What did you say, Lisa? We're in the top 5%?
Yeah, the top 5%, Erin, of all podcasts, not just in our genre, but of all podcasts anywhere released by humans. So yeah, it's quite good. I'm just so grateful that people listen to us and that we get emails at gracefullyfrankly@gmail.com and the comments on our Facebook page. And it's just so great to have a little tribe along with us. Am I allowed to say that? Wait a minute.
I don't know. Is that an outdated term? I'm not sure. But to have our posse, no, can't say posse, have our, oh hell, let's just wrap it up for this week before we get in trouble. What do you think?
Okay, that's a great idea.
Thank you, Envy Pillow. We love you, and Lisa and I will talk to you again next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.